Well, folks, welcome to another edition of An Hour with Bob. This afternoon, I got a very interesting guy I just ran into recently. I never knew him before. I've heard of him. I've seen him around, but not personally. Never had any contact with him until last weekend, was it? Xay, what was it last weekend?
The Black Ships Festival.
Black Ships Festival down in Newport. We're at Salve Regina University. What was the name of that hall? Do you know?
Ochre Court.
Ochre.
Yes.
O-C-H-R-E, is that how you spell that?
That's correct.
Spell that?
Yep.
Speaking of spelling, your last name.
I got the longest name in politics, I'm pretty certain.
13 letters.
14 in the last name.
Oh, 14.
7 in the first name. And we got a half dozen more in the middle name, give or take.
Oh, you have a middle name too?
Rexford. Rexford.
All right, let me try it. Let me try it. Xay, I don't know the middle name, so we got to get to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Khamsyvoravong.
Vong.
Vog.
You were so close. For
Really?
the first try, there should be, is this a prize show? We should be giving you a
Really?
prize again. So
Yeah.
close. Absolutely. Yeah, Khamsyvoravong. My full first name.
Khamsyvoravong.
Khamsyvoravong. My full
Wow.
first name is Xay Kham, and I just go by Xay. Like sigh of relief, it's not the full name, right, Bob?
Right.
And my middle name is Rexford. My mother was Linda Brown Rexford, and when she got married, her last name became her middle name, and she took my father's last name. But she practiced as a pediatrician in the area as Dr. Linda Rexford. So I'll bet that a lot of your viewers, where their children might have actually had my mother as their pediatrician.
Wow, how cool is that?
It's wonderful.
Now, what's her ancestry?
My mother's American.
American.
Yep, dating way back, eventually Scottish. She's originally from a small farming family in upstate New York, right up on the Canadian border in a county called St. Lawrence County. You've heard of like St. Lawrence University, handful of
New
other
York?
schools. Upstate New York.
Oh, so that's right. It must have been right along the border of Vermont then, if it was in that
Canada,
area.
actually.
Yeah, I know, but Canada too. But in that northwest corner of, because I used to go to Milton, Vermont all the time, almost every other week.
Oh yeah.
And that's way up there in the Vermont on the New York side, right against the
Exactly.
St. Lawrence Seaway.
Exactly. North of Lake Champlain there. It's great country. Cows and colleges. That's what they got going on up there. It's nice country. Yeah.
Yeah, a little cool though in the wintertime.
Definitely cool in the wintertime. A lot of snow.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, so that's my mother's background. My mother came down here to do her residency.
Your father?
My father, totally different journey. My father was a refugee.
Vietnam or Cambodia?
Laos. Only
two
two
out of
more
three.
options to go, right? and so my father lived in Laos, which is a very small country between Thailand and Vietnam, north of Cambodia, south of China.
Yep.
And during the Vietnam War, in that same period of time when the communists swept into Vietnam, they also swept into Laos. And so my family was part of the democratic side of that equation.
Oh.
Did not go well, obviously. Lost my grandfather at an early age. And so my father was a war refugee. The province he lived in, which is right where the Plain of Jars is located, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's one of the most heavily bombed places in world history. And so my father escaped over the Mekong River in a little aluminum skiff and landed in Thailand, where he spent over a year in a refugee camp.
Oh my God.
Now, eventually a church...
Now, we're in Thailand. What part of Thailand?
Right across the border from Laos, right in the middle of the country.
Yeah, what city?
I'll have to look up that city for you and get back to
I've been
you.
to Thailand a couple times.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful country.
Oh, I love it.
And he was sponsored by a church group in Minnesota, in a little town called Houston, just outside Minneapolis. One stoplight town.
Oh, wow.
Methodist church group. They brought him here to America, and then ultimately helped him resettle to Rhode Island. And so that is how my family ended up in Rhode Island. My mother was here doing medical work in the community health center as part of her residency. My father is a refugee here from Laos.
Wow. How many in your family?
4 of us in total.
Yep.
My mother and father, they still live together in the house that my father built that I grew up in. And my sister, who currently lives out on the West Coast, and she does youth programs largely in the bike field.
Wow. So there's one, you have one sibling.
Yes, she's the favorite in the family, I can assure you.
Who's older?
I'm the older.
You're the oldest.
Yeah. They eventually got it right. My sister's wonderful.
Yeah, huh? Well, that's cool, though.
Thank you.
That's cool. Yeah. So you've been here
My whole life.
Your whole life?
Yeah, I was born at Lying In Hospital.
Oh my God.
Right? I think I was the last graduating class from Lying In
Yeah,
Hospital.
yeah.
Which obviously now most babies are delivered at Women's and Infants. And then my family started originally in the Elmhurst neighborhood.
Okay.
Right, if you know where the Newport Creamery is on Smith Street, couple
Yes,
blocks
I do.
before that,
Absolutely.
little street called Radcliffe, and there's a great florist right there. He's still working out of that little shop there, Richard. And so my parents had the house right next door, multi-family house, and then kind of moved around throughout the period after that. Lived in Cranston for a little bit, and then over to the East Bay, where I went to school. So I was born, raised, educated. I went to Brown for undergrad and graduate school, and then I went to the best law school in Rhode Island, Roger Williams. For law school.
My alma mater, but not for law school. I was an undergrad there.
It's got to be one of the prettiest schools in all of
I
New
was the
England.
second graduating class from that school.
See, look at that. I was the last graduating class out of Lying In, and you were the second graduating class out of Roger Williams.
Roger Williams. It was a college when I graduated from there.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal school. They've done terrific work. They understand service in the community. I really enjoyed my time at Roger
Beautiful,
Williams.
beautiful
And I met my
campus.
wife there.
Oh, really?
Most important decision of my life.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. How long have you lived in Newport?
Lived in Newport for about 6 years now. We're coming up on the 6th year. Moved down there in the midst of the pandemic. We had been living in Providence.
Yeah, right.
My wife and I were in the process of getting married. She had always had an aspiration of living in Newport. I shared that aspiration.
Right.
And so we had the opportunity to make the move down there during COVID, and we made that move.
Probably a perfect time, actually.
There's never a bad time to move to Newport.
No. This is true. This is true. No, Newport's beautiful. It really is. It really is.
We're very lucky. It's also a very dynamic community. Most people don't realize this. Newport is one of the poorest communities in Rhode Island.
Right.
It takes a lot of people to make that city run and operate the way that it does.
Well, you were a mayor of Newport.
I
for a while.
was. It was a great honor. I ran for mayor of Newport because I felt that city had to do a better job taking care of the people that make it work every day. We got in there and we did that work, and it has been an absolutely tremendous community to be part of. I'm so thankful for the opportunity the voters gave me and the fact that I get to live down there.
Wow. And you're still on the council, right?
I am, that's correct. Second term.
And you decided you want to go for lieutenant governor. Why?
Well, I'm frustrated right now. I think a lot of Rhode Islanders are frustrated right now. We know that our government has good people in it, but we look at the challenges ahead that are way bigger than the typical challenges government faces. You've got all these big forces out there, things like climate change, AI, which we know is going to have a big impact on what our lives are like. There's a lot of chaos coming out of Washington right now, and we need some government leaders.
That's an understatement.
We need some government leaders who are going to be able to step up to that additional challenge. This isn't just us bickering amongst each other anymore. This isn't just years of kicking the can. These are very big forces that are changing the world around us. And I think we need a new generation of leadership that's going to be up to that task.
Right, yeah. Is that what got you into public service in the first place?
I'll tell you two things. First, what got me into public service years and years and years ago, and then second, what got me into this race. What originally got me into public service was seeing everything that was going on when I was a younger guy in college and saying, we got to do something to make this home place a little bit better than it is today. And so I worked on the campaign of then a young state senator running for state treasurer, a guy named Frank Caprio.
Oh my God.
Managed his campaign for state treasurer.
Yep.
He won. I served as his deputy in office. And I saw what happens when a little state like Rhode Island gets subjected to big forces when the financial crisis hit Rhode Island.
Right.
And so that was quite the education. Left that, worked in the private sector for years, was very happy working at an executive level there. And then when my wife and I moved to Newport, I looked at that community and said, this is a place that needs to be taking better care of the people that live here. And life was good. Serving in Newport is tremendous. It is a wonderful community.
Right.
People want to make a difference. They want to be involved. Was very lucky to get to serve there. But then two things happened back to back, both healthcare related. One, my wife lost her primary care physician.
Oh.
She was a patient at a practice called Anchor Medical.
Oh God, yeah.
And overnight, that anchor came up detached and it folded.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a primary care doctor. And in a state where I think
that happened to a lot of people, by the way.
A lot of people were
my
displaced.
brother included.
And so we're a state where our unofficial motto is, I know a guy, right?
Yeah.
It turns out that
You didn't know a guy.
even if your mother-in-law was a beloved pediatrician, even if you are the first lady of Newport, that the math is the math, and when things are really, really bad, it doesn't matter if you've got a connection, it doesn't work out. And I learned through that process that Rhode Island is 300 primary care physicians short of what it needs, and nearly 1 in 4 of the remaining primary care physicians are about to retire in the next 5 years. People like my mother. And so nobody's taking new patients. When she did find a doctor, it's 45 minutes, an hour away. And so now every time she goes for a routine doctor's appointment, it's a third to a half a day out of work.
Wow.
Now that had happened, but she still had one doctor. She had her women's health doctor, her gynecologist. Then all of a sudden that doctor went away.
Oh, no.
And I talked to these 2 nurses who worked at the Women's Health Center at Newport Hospital. I said, what's going on? They said, the big healthcare provider here they're gonna close the labor and delivery unit at our local hospital. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
At Newport Hospital.
At Newport Hospital.
I remember that.
Yeah. It's this
There
group.
was a big uproar about that.
Well, we ginned up that uproar for good cause,
Really?
right? If a woman is looking for health care as she's an expectant mother, right? Newport Hospital is one of the best places to go. It's also one of the only places. Their alternative, if they're down there, is taking the drive up to women and infants.
Right.
I don't know if you know what traffic is like right now.
Oh, God, do I ever.
But between Newport and between South County, in between all this construction, that's not reasonable.
Right.
And I said to myself, the system doesn't understand that right now it needs to be putting people over its profits where it can. We felt that they could do that. And so we worked together as a community. I worked with our state legislators. Representative Lauren Carson was a terrific partner and ally for me. We made the case. Eventually all the state leaders jumped on.
Right.
And we worked with the healthcare system to make sure we kept that open. But we had to take a hard line to do that. And what that all made me realize is that we really need some strong leaders right now who want to make sure that in all this change we're experiencing, working in middle-class families, their values and taking care of them is right at the forefront. That's the work that I'm looking to do as Lieutenant Governor. And this is the second highest post in state government. It is the one post that is free to choose the fights it takes on. I think fighting for the working and middle class is the exact kind of calling that I want to take on, because that's the class that made me. That is why I have the opportunity to be the person, professional, and the family person that I am.
Well, because the argument always has been with the Lieutenant Governor, other than being the succession to the governor, that you really have no job, but that's not exactly true.
Well, look, I want all of your viewers to think about, if you woke up tomorrow and you could do anything you wanted, you knew you were going to have a paycheck, you were going to have health insurance, you're going to have a couple people to help you out, I don't think a single one of your viewers would say, well, then what I'm going to do is nothing at all. I'm going to go sit on the beach. They might take a beach day or two.
Right.
But they get out there and they do something. That's who we are as Rhode Islanders. We like to work. We like to work hard. We like to be productive. We like to help each other.
Well, most of us.
Most of us. We definitely, but that, when you think about government, right now people are losing faith in government. And so what you should do when you look at an office like that is not say, well, there isn't a whole lot to do every day, but ride around and cut ribbons, right? What you should be saying is, how do I use this unique opportunity
Exactly.
to help people, but also to help restore people's faith in government?
Exactly. Well, I don't know if you realize this, but I worked at that office for 3 years. Did you know that?
You mentioned that the other night.
Oh, I did,
I was
huh?
very excited to hear that. Tell me about your time working in that office.
Well, I was the one that initiated that 39 communities. Going to the 39 communities, me and the Lieutenant Governor, now the Governor, Dan McKee, we went to all the communities in Rhode Island, the 39 cities and towns in Rhode Island, 4 different times. We went to see 39 farms. We went to, actually we ended up seeing 62 farms, because people in some of the towns said, oh, you went to Cranston, but you didn't stop at our farm. You went to this other farm instead. So we ended up going to 3 farms in Cranston, 2 in South County, all over the place. We ended up going to 62 farms. And then we went to 39 manufacturers. Then we went to 39 restaurants, and diners. Only one town in the state of Rhode Island doesn't have a diner.
Which one is that?
West Greenwich.
Really?
Yep. They have a little restaurant there, but it's not considered a diner, I guess. I don't know how that worked out.
What's the best diner in the state?
The best diner in the state? There's a few of them. I like, and the best fish and chips of a diner, I'm a big fish and chip guy,
Oh,
by
yeah.
the way. The best fish and chips in a diner, I think, is in West Warwick. It's at Ferrucci's Newport Creamery. I'm not Newport Creamery. New York System. Ferrucci's New York System. There's a middle of the road diner on Route 3 in Exeter. Are you familiar with that?
No, tell me more.
Oh my God! They give you so much food, and it's so inexpensive. I used to go down there. There's an auction, it's a car auction down there. I used to go to the car auction down there. It's a nondescript building. It looks like a bunch of little sheds put together, or garages put together into it's. You go in it, and you have to walk down a couple steps to go to the other room. You know, it's like add-ons, a whole bunch of add-ons. They do a phenomenal business, and the food's excellent. The breakfast is huge, and it's very inexpensive. And the meals, you know, the blue plate special.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They have it all. You want a shepherd's pie, or you want a stuffed pepper, or stuff you wouldn't get at these franchise restaurants that you don't get.
The American diner is one of the most characteristic parts of our dining scene.
There's an argument over that. Who started the American diner?
Go on.
We say it started in Rhode Island. Massachusetts says it started in Massachusetts. The diner, you know, the diner, like the modern diner.
Yeah,
in
as we
Pawtucket.
know it. Yeah, which is a great spot. My spot in Newport is the Franklin Spa, right?
I know that.
Spa's term, you know, they only serve breakfast and lunch. Franklin Spa for years had the same owner, and then the owner was set to retire. And a lot of these great spots that we love end up folding at that point.
Right.
There's no generation taken on, but one of the young women who worked there, a young woman named Brittany, and her partner Nick, said, no, we want to save the spot, we want to keep it going. And so she, you know, jumps behind and works the grill all the time, and Nick is out there when he's not on his fire shift, help getting people settled in, and they're terrific. It is one of the best breakfasts that I've found in Rhode Island.
Where is it?
Right on Franklin Street, the corner of Franklin and Spring Street in Newport.
Right almost downtown.
Do you know where St. Mary's Church is? The one where JFK got married?
Yes.
Kitty corner from there.
Oh.
Right near Memorial Boulevard.
Yep.
It's excellent. But again, they close by 1 o'clock each day.
Right.
So you got to get in
That's
there.
a smart move, by the way. I used to be in the restaurant business, and I used to serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Want to kill myself. I mean, you just work way too much.
And you're in so early. I worked serving coffee at Seven Stars Bakery when they first opened.
Oh.
And I remembered how early in the morning they would get started, Lynn and her husband, every morning baking.
Oh, bakery, yeah, that's the worst. It's
It's-
2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah, it's another level.
That's worse than having a diner because you got to bake much earlier.
Exactly. All right, so you gave me your best diner. Let me ask you this. The 62 farms in the state, what was the best farm? Was it Cumberland Farms?
Cumberland Farms. That's actually a Massachusetts
I know.
outfit, right? Cumberland Farms.
Yeah. What was the best one?
The best one. Oh, for different reasons. Do you know there is a 2,800 acre farm in Coventry that is affiliated with, what am I thinking of? Cranberries.
Really?
Ocean Spray.
Ocean Spray.
They wear the shirts, Ocean
Yeah.
Spray, because Ocean Spray is an affiliate. It's a co-op of a
Yes.
bunch of farmers up in Carver, Massachusetts,
Right.
North Carver, Mass. Well, they're also affiliated with a 2,800 acre farm in Weston Coventry, owned by a family that's been here since probably the Pilgrim days, the Green family.
Yeah.
And in fact, Green, Rhode Island is named after that family.
Yes.
And the members now are all women. I think it's 4 or 5 sisters that run the farm down there. Pretty cool, pretty interesting.
Farming is extraordinarily hard work.
Oh,
On my
God.
mother's side of the family, my grandmother family was in chicken and dairy for a long time.
Right.
It's hard work. But you know, that's one of the unique things about Rhode Island. We are one of the most urban states in the Union. For a while, we were number 2, right behind New Jersey. But we are also one of the most rural states in the Union.
That surprises people. Not me, but it surprises people. You go to the western part of Rhode Island, and there's a lot of open land there. You go down to Hope Valley in that area of the state of Rhode Island.
You can drive a 10-minute span in many parts of the state, and you will go from the heart of a city, feels like a city, it's got the buses, the multifamily houses, everything's compact, loud music, people, vibrant, to, in 10 minutes, the country. I mean, take Johnston, right? You drive through Johnston. Johnston's got some wonderfully rural areas. It's got some very compact, lively communities, huge variety. Cranston, same thing. You start thinking about a lot of the parts of the East Bay as well. Even East Providence, you drive through East Providence and boom, all of a sudden you hit that line and it's very rural. And so the state has a very good agricultural tradition. I was just down at the Washington County Fair.
I missed that this week.
Oh,
I love that
terrific.
fair.
It was
I
terrific.
do. I absolutely love that fair, and I didn't get to see it this year.
That's the best part of campaigning is you get all over the entire state. And you
I
get to
took
visit
Dan
these
McKee
places.
there years ago when he was running for governor.
Yeah.
I took him down to the fair, and he was shocked by everything you can see down there.
Yeah, the governor's fun in those settings too, though.
Yeah.
He likes people.
Yeah, I used to bust him all the time about, because he talked about, he's from Cumberland, and he always would say, well, I'm from Cumberland all my life. I said, yeah, but you were born in the Lion Inn Hospital. I was born at 20 Eddy Street in Cumberland. I was literally
At
born
home birth.
in Cumberland, not in the hospital. He was born in the hospital, so I one-upped him on that one.
Oh, that's terrific. How'd he take that?
Well, he took it in stride because I've used it against him so many times over the years, over the time I worked for him, the 3 years I worked for him. But we did a lot of different stuff in the position that other lieutenant governors previous didn't do. We were handling, there was never a boring day in that office. There was only 7 employees because they're limited. They only have a $1 million budget.
Yeah.
They don't have the, like some of these other departments that they have 62, 120 people working for them in some of these departments. We only had 7.
So Bob, I was the deputy in the state treasury when I was in my early 20s.
Yep.
Right, about an 80-person office. And one of the things I learned early on is you have your core executive team that really works to push whatever your specific agenda is every single day. And then you have the balance of the office whose roles are typically in a bargaining unit. That's a labor union for those following along. They have very specific roles and tasks. So in the Treasury, there's somebody whose job it is just to identify unclaimed property. There's somebody's job who is to just help reconcile the ledger every week with the checks that are going out. And so you have many of these positions have very specific roles. Your core executive team in the Attorney General's office, the Treasurer's office, the Secretary of State's office, and the Lieutenant Governor's office are all roughly in the range of somewhere between 6 and 10 people. Other than that, everybody is very operationally encumbered with specific things they have to do. So in that way, this is the one office that has the flexibility to decide what they work on every day. Because if you're in that executive office in the Treasury, and for example, the financial crisis happens, well, guess what? Everybody just went from being an executive office employee to being focused on investment management and troubleshooting, right? Or if there's a big crisis, take, for example, when I was young going through school, the Station nightclub fire happened. Well, that was an all-hands-on-deck type exercise. Lieutenant Governor's office, the one office, they get to choose what they work on every day. I think you need to be intentional about that and make sure it's something that actually moves the needle for people.
Well, the other thing about that we finally experienced was that our governor left.
Yes.
And the lieutenant governor had to take charge. And I'm not sure that certain people could handle that office, could handle being the governor right now.
Well, the task is much different than it's ever been before, right? We find ourselves a small state sailing through a very violent sea of change right now. I mentioned earlier, there's, and this is regardless of where you may fall ideologically on this, climate change, which we know is, I can tell you, living on a frontline coastal community, the storms are more violent than ever before.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
We saw it with the blizzard this past year,
right?
right?
Oh my God!
We said,
look at the floods and the fires. It's awful.
You have this AI technology. Now, regardless of whether folks are ready to embrace it yet or not,
it's coming.
30,000 people's jobs are in some way going to be seriously impacted by this. we need to think about what that impact is. Are we going to have them in the driver's seat to be able to use this tool to enhance what they're doing? Or are they going to be sitting on the receiving end of it, like offshoring did in manufacturing in our state?
Right.
And then, like I said, we've got this madness coming out of Washington right now. It's like every day you go to open your phone and you brace yourself and you pray that whatever the madness is that's happening, it won't be something impacting your community. But more often than not, it is. It's amazing how a conflict halfway around the world can be impacting our bottom line with things like, the cost of heating our homes or putting gas in
our cars. It's crazy. It's crazy the amount of money it's costing to fill your tank up nowadays.
And these are big challenges. And in the same way that we've seen, the other general officers have to rise to the task, I think this office is one where you should be looking at what can we be doing to actually help families navigate this better. Everybody thinks about the traditional councils for this office: long-term care coordination council, small business advocacy council, emergency management. But there's a fourth that was created but never really got off the ground and kind of sat dormant, which is the Intergovernmental Council.
Okay.
The role of this council is to help state and local government coordinate their response to major changes in federal funding or federal program requirements. So you look at things like a lot of the changes that are coming to Medicaid. Nearly 30,000 people are expected to lose their health care coverage in the next year through Medicaid. That office, that advisory council, is one that should be spun right back up to help us navigate some of these big challenges. It probably would have been really helpful through COVID as well.
Now, does that is that a committee that would meet? Because we never dealt with that. I never dealt with that.
It is. It's a committee that was created a little over a couple decades ago on paper. Never got stood up. And it calls for representation from a bunch of different parts of government, in part led by the lieutenant governor. So it's a unique one that I think would be worth bringing back right now in order to make sure that office is doing something besides just trying to push a legislative agenda or taking on the ceremonial roles of the office.
Right, yeah. I used to always go upstairs to the legislature and talk to the different reps and different senators because I knew a lot of them back in the day.
Look, and I've had great relations with the legislature. It's been part of how we got so much done in Newport so quickly.
Right, exactly.
But you have to realize that's just one branch of government. And while we may have an abnormally weak executive constitutionally in this state,
exactly.
And this office in turn is even weaker, you have to look at the areas that it can have impact, where government can act without legislative mandate. And that's where I think there's great opportunity to move the needle. And the legislature rightfully has a lot of attention on it because of the sheer amount of power they have under our Constitution.
Yes, it's awful. When you think about it, that Massachusetts, the governor has the most power of any governor in the country. And Rhode Island has one of the weakest.
But at the same time, our form of government is the way it is for a reason. That's to force us to think about how we're using the tools that we have. The power of the bully pulpit is enormous.
Right.
The power to pull people together to meet.
Well, that's where the personality of the individual comes into play.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
Yes.
That makes the world of difference.
Yeah.
If you got something to use and you don't know how to use it, then it's worthless.
Right.
Right. But if you got lesser than most people think, and you're really using it, then you're taking advantage of you're using it for the best interest.
But like I said, I bet that there are plenty of your viewers out there right now who said, if I had a half a dozen people and $1.5 million, imagine the things I could get done with that, right? I'm sure that if they look at the problems they run into every day in their lives, they say, what if I just took that money and focused on those challenges?
Is it up to $1.5 million now?
It is, yeah.
Because it was only $1 million when I left there.
Inflation's a real thing right now. You look at the growth in the state budget, almost over $15 billion.
Yeah.
Right. Inflation is a very real thing, and we have to make sure we're using every one of those dollars intelligently. I came out of the private sector, right? I spent over a decade and a half working in the private sector. I worked with everybody from small businesses to large governments. I worked with mayors and governors and treasurers across the country, and being accountable for every dollar you're spending is an important thing. Being thoughtful about it and making sure you're driving real change is important.
So do you prefer you obviously prefer the public sector to the private sector?
No, I really enjoyed my private sector work, and I am hopeful to go back to it. I come from a New England mindset of governing, which is that we should always be civically involved in some way.
And still.
And that involvement can flex. So it could be everything from on Sundays, helping make sure you set up the coffee hour after church,
Yep.
to at the highest calling, military service. And as long as you're somewhere along the spectrum there and you're serving, you're doing well, there's a period in time to leave the proverbial farm of the private sector, to go and to serve for a little bit in government. That's the New England tradition. That's important. But I don't think that these offices in that way were originally intended to be things where it was a lifetime of work.
Exactly, exactly.
Although I'm appreciative of those who do serve for that long,
Right.
my personal mentality is one that I want to get in, I want to serve and do a good job, and then I'm perfectly happy and content going back to the private sector.
Oh, I'm a firm believer in term limits. I think that's important, especially in a national scale. I mean, it's awful when you got a guy there, he's in his 90s. What's his name? Begins with G. The guy in the Northwest there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I can't think of his name. Begins with a G. No, I know. It'll come to me anyway. It'll come to me. Who is it? No. He's up there too. But no, this guy begins with a G. He's up there in the Utah or something, Idaho or somewhere up there.
Well, and I mean, look, age.
Oh, age isn't everything, but it's the terms, the amount of time he's been served,
Exactly.
not his age. It's how many years he's been in the office.
Agreed.
You know, it shouldn't be like that.
And right now, it feels like Rhode Island is ready for some change. And I think people
Hopefully.
are eager for a new generation to step in and lead. I think people are understandably waiting and curious to see what that new generation of leadership might look like.
Right.
I hope that we have a compelling case to make from our perspective, that we are going to focus on common sense, on competence, and on actually doing things that we all agree need to get taken care of and dealt with to make families able to live in Rhode Island.
What do you find? What are you getting from people mostly? What's their biggest concern?
Look,
Is it medical? It is?
Yeah, people are concerned about affordability writ large, but there are two big drivers I'm finding every day. One is healthcare. People want to be able to go to their doctor when they need to, and they feel like they're paying more and more for health insurance every year, but that it's not getting any better. The second thing I'm hearing is a bit more modest. People want to be able to ensure that they and their children are able to get paid a fair day's pay for a fair day's work.
Right.
This isn't something lofty or overly ambitious. This is straightforward. They want to be able to have a job where they can work a square number of hours and be able to afford their rent and their groceries and their utility and their car. And their ambition really is modest in that sense. And so I think that is the point we're at, where families are just saying, look, we just want the basics to be able to get by here, is something that we should be able to deliver for them. And it's not just attracting new employers. I think it's also ensuring that we are training people for the jobs that we have available in the state that will pay that living wage. I'll give you one example, Electric Boat. Electric Boat is hiring thousands of people every year. They start people at a living wage. You very quickly get up to $80,000 or more per year.
But you know what their problem is? Or what a problem is for the people that try to apply for those jobs? You smoke pot, you're not getting a job there.
Well, that is true. The background checks are serious. But there are another tier of employers and shipbuilders just down the line. We're more than happy to hire those folks.
Right.
And so there's a lot of employment in that space. If you're a welder, an electrician, there's a job for you in this state. And these are jobs, like I said, pay a living wage. We need to be thinking about why it is that we don't have more people going into those jobs if we know that the situation is dire enough that people need to be making a living wage. One of the things that we've been working on in Newport, I think that we should be doing across this entire state, is encouraging kids to graduate not only with an academic degree,
Trades.
but also a certification and a technical skill, whether it's the trades or healthcare. We know we have big gaps in both. You know, for every one qualified healthcare employee in the state, there are 15 vacant positions. That's why you've got shortages of people in nursing homes. That's why when you go to the hospital, it feels like you can't get anybody to pay attention to you. We need
but they don't pay anything.
We've got to be encouraging people to get in these fields. We have to get compensation up where we can, but these jobs need to be ones that lead you on a pathway to greater compensation. You should be able to move up the ladder of employment in the healthcare space.
So in other words, you start at a low wage, but you have the ability to advance at a living wage.
Exactly. Pre-apprenticeship certifications are a very good way to make sure that kids get a running start into those jobs so they can quickly move from entry level into jobs that pay a living wage.
Right, exactly. What do you think about the reimbursements? I think that's a big problem in this state, for the dentist especially.
Oh, I mean, dental coverage, and when I say primary care, I actually do include dental within that. And dental, there's some nuances too with which ones will accept certain government paid programs versus not. But our doctors are paid 30% less in Rhode Island than they are in Massachusetts. You know, we rank 49th in the country for the practice of medicine. That's not a good deal for doctors here.
Who's 50? Minnesota? No, Mississippi probably, right? Or Louisiana, one of those.
You know, I was given this chart earlier today by somebody I was sitting with at lunch, and so New York is 51, New Jersey is 50. You don't want to be in the company of New Jersey on something like this.
Well, wait a minute. How can it be 51?
Well, there are a couple of territories that the U.S. has associated with it too, Bob.
Yeah.
And so that's not a good place to be.
But New York is 50?
Yes, 51.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Best and worst.
I didn't plan to pull that out. This was in my pocket from lunch.
Yeah.
Because people are frustrated. This is an issue we need to focus on.
Wow.
You know, they found that only 20% of Medicaid recipients, when they went to get a doctor's appointment, could actually get an appointment.
Oh, yeah.
1 in 3 of us who pay for Blue Cross, Blue Shield health insurance, 1 in 3 don't have a primary care physician. You know what that means? It means that when you've got a problem,
you go to the emergency room.
Exactly, or urgent care. It's kind of like a game of health insurance roulette at that point to see what gets covered. You get a big bill, but in addition to that, that's really expensive care. Somebody doesn't know you, seeing you for the first time, they're doing the best job they can. You could be in there next to somebody with a gunshot wound, somebody else just broke their arm.
Right.
That's not how we should be delivering health care. The scarier part is, let's say it's not an emergency situation, but you've got a chronic condition and you don't catch it at your annual physical, and it evolves to the point where all of a sudden you are in an emergency situation.
Right.
You're caring for that person who has a chronic condition that hasn't been
treated. And you have no idea what.
It's enormously expensive. Enormously expensive.
Because you got to test all kinds of testing that you normally wouldn't have to do.
You're pinballing around the healthcare system now. Not a good deal. If we can fix primary care, that one thing will do more to improve people's experiences with the healthcare system and the cost drivers in the system than almost anything else that we could touch right now. But only 5% of what we pay for health insurance right now is actually going towards primary care. So we have to figure out a way to take care of this.
Wow.
We've got to pay doctors better. We've got to make their lives more focused on providing patient care, less focused on providing paperwork. And then we need to recruit in the next generation of doctors so that we all can live healthy and productive lives.
It works for me. It makes sense. I hear it all the time, and I'm not even in the business. I'm not even a politician, but I hear it all the time from friends that have lost their, like you said, they lost their primary doctor. I'm going to lose mine pretty soon. He's retired, getting ready to retire.
Yeah. And here's the other threat that's been emerging, is this concierge medicine and direct primary care. This is when, if you want access to a doctor, you have to pay a subscription fee per month, somewhere between $100 and $250 a month. And then if you pay that fee, then you're guaranteed you can see a doctor.
Well, isn't that what Blue Cross says?
No. That's your insurance. You have doctors and concierge.
No, I'm being facetious.
Right. You have doctors and concierge, and I don't blame doctors who have gone down this pathway. I watched it with my mother's practice. You've got a battery of somewhere around 1,500 patients. The insurance companies pay you for a 15-minute visit, and that's about it. And otherwise, you're referring them out to get pinballed around the system. And then, as a doctor, you're spending 40% of your time doing paperwork.
Yeah.
And so you're not, you went to medical school, you've got a huge student loan debt, and you're spending your time fighting with insurance companies. That's wrong. That's why we can't get people to practice medicine in the state. We've got to reform the system, get more doctors in here to take better care of people, to make sure this is a state where people can lead healthy and productive lives.
I was talking to a doctor earlier today saying that after all said and done, after he pays off his help and everybody, his PA makes more money than he does.
It's true. So I hurt my back shoveling this past winter, probably among a lot of people who did that.
Well, we can attest to that right here. Diane and I've had I've had 5 back operations, so I know what that's all about.
Well, I mean, Diane, I'm sure, can handle the shovel just fine. But, you know, so I went to, for the first time in my life, I found myself in physical therapy. I can't say enough amazing things about the team that helped get me back in shape. They were terrific. Initially, you see the physical therapist who's got a doctorate, and then you usually have somebody with a bachelor's, maybe a master's, who helps you, does the stretches and helps
Right.
you, you know, build up your strength again where you need to. And they were terrific. I wouldn't be sitting upright talking with you
Where
today.
was that?
but for
Down in
them.
Newport?
Down in Newport. But in the same month that I started going to PT, I also had my primary care visit. My physical therapist with a bachelor's degree was getting paid more than my primary care physician.
Wow.
On a minute-by-minute basis. I'm not saying that both parties aren't entitled to fair compensation,
Right.
but I'm saying that when you think about how much education a doctor goes through,
Right.
how much of their day is dominated by having to do paperwork, by fighting the frustrations of the system on your behalf, that it's no wonder that young doctors don't want to practice here. We need to fix this. You know, it's tough to fix everything in this state, but when you consider we only need 300 new primary care physicians to level up, this is something we can do. This is achievable. If Electric Boat can hire thousands of people every year to build Columbia and Virginia-class submarines
Right.
who are defending our country, we should be able to go out and recruit 300 new doctors. That's the work I want to do as Lieutenant Governor.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, other than health care, what else? What else are we talking about?
We got to talk about how we make sure people can earn a fair wage, right?
Right.
We talked about this just a second ago a little bit, but there are two things going on right now that we should all be acutely aware of. One is the cost of housing in the state is through the roof. And if you've ever taken on a construction project, you know that the biggest cost isn't the materials that you're putting into that
No.
project. It's the expertise and the craftsmanship that's necessary to build things once and build them right. We have an amazing tradition in this state of some of the best craftspeople in the world. Our tradespeople are second to none. You ever come down to Newport? I mean, that's why you've got so many of these big super yachts coming in. That's
Right.
why you've got these amazing, beautiful homes that people from around the world are coming in to buy and to live in or visit. It's because our craftspeople are part of the cultural tradition of greatness that the state has.
Well, they got to maintain all those beautiful mansions.
Exactly, and the homes, right? Even the small homes, they are little jewel boxes. But we need to be training more tradespeople in order to get the cost of housing construction under control. It is incredibly expensive to build in the state.
I've flipped a few houses in my time.
Have you tried to hire a plumber recently?
Oh, yes.
Good luck.
Oh, yes.
I can guarantee you they're making more than the primary care
Or an
physician.
electrician.
Right?
I just had, my house was hit, short story, my house was hit by lightning last year.
Oh my goodness.
And I went right down the electrical wire on the outside of the house.
Yeah.
You know where it comes in the house?
Yeah.
Went right down, right to the panel. Torched the panel, cooked the panel. Yeah, right in my house. I'm sitting there watching TV. All of a sudden, everything goes out in my house. Yeah.
You're lucky it didn't hit you. You'd have to get a new logo with the hair kind of.
Yeah,
you know,
no
right?
kidding. Yeah, exactly. But I ended up hiring a guy I knew, and he had done work for me like less than a year. I flipped the house not even a year earlier, and I was paying him $50 an hour. And all of a sudden, he does a job for me, and I'm anticipating it's going to be around. He's going to have 2 other guys. I'm going to give it's going to be $150, $200 an hour total for the 3 guys. Not a chance. He worked 11 hours. He gave me a bill for $7,500 labor.
Mm-hmm.
I went, what? $7,500 for 3 guys? That's $2,500 a piece.
Yeah.
For 11 hours.
Yeah.
It's it's ridiculous, is what it is.
Well, but it's also it's a free market, right? And
Yeah.
and I'll say this: somewhere along the way, we started convincing ourselves that everybody had to go to college, that was the only way to go to be a member of society, to be accomplished. I can tell you this, of all the millionaires that I know, most of them are not people who worked on Wall Street. Most of them are not people who work in some fancy law firm downtown. Most of them are tradespeople.
Yep.
People like a lot of my relatives who worked their tail off, right? They bought a multifamily home and then another multifamily home. They invested in a commercial property. They started a small business, 3 or 4 other tradespeople working alongside them. That's how they built their wealth. And that is a pathway to living the American dream that we should not be discounting. We should be encouraging kids to lean into it, not just because it's good for them and their futures, but because society needs it right now. We need these tradespeople to build the homes that we need. We need these tradespeople to ensure that we can build the submarines and the vehicles that are going to defend our democracy from foreign threats. We need tradespeople right now. We should be doubling down on this. And I've got one other benefit for you on this. When AI does come to have its impact here,
Yeah, they can't touch that.
AI
A
can't
plumber
swing a hammer.
you can't
Right?
swing a hammer, can't fix your toilet.
Can't fix your toilet. And so there is a great amount of future-proofing that we can do
Right.
for our workforce if we encourage them to do that. And then there's one final piece here, and I want to talk about the next generation. We have a major problem with attendance in public schools in this state. A lot
It's
of schools,
awful.
right, north of 40% of kids are chronically absent. That means they're not showing up for
But
class.
part of that is prosecution. They're not bringing them before the judge. If they started bringing them like they used to when I was a kid, you were not absent from school.
Family structures changed a fair amount, right?
Well, that's true.
You have to understand that we think about the education system right now as just the public school. Kid shows up, they go to class, that's it. But key to my education was the school teacher who spent a little bit of time after school with me to help me work through my reading or math homework.
Right.
My parents who would sit there with me and work through my time. I still remember my father quizzing me on my times tables as a kid. The grandparent who, if they saw
Yeah,
you
but that's part
hooky,
of your upbringing. As I find the Asian people are much more into education than most other people are.
Well, we can tackle the myth of the model minority at another show. I'll take a whole show. But my parents, my father and my mother, we lived the American dream, not only because we worked hard, but also the kindness of a community. Today, families look a lot different than they did before. I can say this seeing what I saw in
no doubt
Newport.
about that.
Two-thirds of the kids in our school, the only meal they were eating is what they ate in school. Over 50% of our kids, they're coming from a single-parent household. That means that their parent is working 2 jobs to try and make sure they can support the family. Some of these kids are serving as the older sibling to their younger kids, taking care of them, right? And so we've got a very complicated situation in our public schools. But the other challenge we have is that we haven't modified education to be delivering something that kids see the value in the same way. The exception to that are the trades and technical programs.
Right.
If a kid, so think about this, a
If
typical
a kid
in the
enjoys
school
doing
system,
what he's doing in school, he's got to stay in school. That's what you're saying,
even if
right?
there's just one thing in the day.
Right.
And so if a kid's enrolled in a carpentry program, and carpentry is just one example, they will show up to go to reading and to math and to history because they really want to
Because they want to do carpentry.
And their attendance goes from being somewhere around 60% to north of 90%. When you grew up, probably like when I grew up, even if I really didn't want to go to school that day, I'd be like, well, I really want to go to lacrosse practice, and I can't go to practice if I don't show up. Or, you got kids who are in band or theater, and they really love that. The good news we have going is that for kids this generation, what they love showing up for are things like the trades. And so while I was never going to become a professional athlete, and certainly not a rock star, the odds of a kid at some point in their life becoming an electrician or a tradesperson
Are good right now.
I'll take that any day of the week.
Yep.
And so we should be leaning into something that the youth are telling us are important, the data tells us we need, and that the future is going to demand of us. I think that means making sure every child is encouraged to graduate not only with an academic degree, but also a certification and a technical skill.
But are the schools doing it? Are the schools offering enough of the trades?
No, but working
Why?
on it. But working on it. I think part of it is how we have been tooling our education system to try and get everybody ready to go to college, right? There's this college
Yeah, but that's
preparedness
over with.
aspect of it.
We should have realized that.
And
20 years ago, we should have realized
The
that.
good news is that we have nearly $4 billion in new school facilities in that state.
Yeah.
Almost all of which includes spaces for technical programs. Newport has a beautiful series of
Right.
spaces for everything from culinary to carpentry. And so we have the facilities now. So the space is there for the programming. We need to back that up with the curriculum and the programming and encourage that as part of what Rhode Island's education system looks like. That's the work I want to do
Right.
as Lieutenant Governor. Secondarily, as I've said, $4 billion worth of spaces. Those spaces should be open after hours as well.
Yeah, exactly.
To also be retraining people. So if you're going to come in while your kid's at sports practice, you can take a class on basic electrical. You can get your nursing
Really?
pre-certification. That, I think, is the opportunity that exists to use that asset.
That's like night school, what they used to have when I was a kid.
But use these public school buildings, which are stunning, right, as real community centers. Bring it back again. And let's make that something that helps make this state better for the future. And let's move quickly enough that none of these big forces wipe us out and put us in a situation where Rhode Island is going to be the last out of this crisis.
And a lot of these cities are building new schools. There's an awful lot of new construction in this state for schools.
Yeah, well, and look, that's actually a good example of what a good relationship between the governor and a general officer should look like.
Right.
Gina Raimondo, when she was in office, looked around and said, I got a lot of big problems to deal with here in the administration. The bridge, all the roads and all that situation. You had COVID blow up, you had the business community. She's like, the school problem was also a very big one. It was unacceptable that kids were in schools with leaking roofs and lead pipes. And so she looked and she said, Seth, you're the state treasurer. Seth and I were classmates in college. She said, you're the state treasurer. You're a smart guy. I trust you can get this done. Go out there and get this done. And today we see the results of that partnership and that collaborative relationship. That's the kind of relationship I want to have with our next governor.
Well, that would be important and necessary. I mean, they're building a huge school in Pawtucket, putting together two different schools that were at each other's throat growing up.
Tolman and Xay?
Tolman and
Which
Xay.
one were you?
Pawtucket West.
Oh.
That was Xay, became Xay. It was Pawtucket West.
That new school building is $330 million.
I know. You know what the irony of the whole thing is? The kid that is the GM over there grew up on my street. I knew him as a little punky kid in my neighborhood.
That's the pathway to greatness living over there in Woodlawn, right?
That's right.
And what's really special about that school, right? First of all, the financing structure is good. The state is picking up the tab on over 80% of the cost.
Right, that's exactly.
It's a good deal for Pawtucket taxpayers. And we have, again, the governor and all the good work that's happening there. Yep. But also, that is going to be a comprehensive, that's one of the largest construction projects in the state right now of any type going on.
Right.
Remarkable that is proceeding on track. It's a great job that's being done by the team on site there. I helped work to make sure that financing went smoothly so construction would get up and going. Oh,
great, yeah. So we both have something to do with some interest in that school, right?
Well, and I love Pawtucket. It's been a great city. Their Democratic City Committee has endorsed me.
Yep.
I've partnered well there. I think, I am long Pawtucket. We'll say that when it comes to investments. People say, I'm long this investment, I'm long Pawtucket. Got a great new train station. That thing is like sell out
that
every
was
day.
The best deal. That was the smartest deal Don Garibian ever did, was building that, having the foresight.
Exactly.
To do that, because contrary to what happened to the other one down in South County there, where it's like a ghost town, and they spent a lot more money down there.
Yeah, and that train runs like a couple times a day. The Wickford train, I try and catch that one where I can. It is nice when you can get it.
Right. But the one in Pawtucket, that parking lot,
Packed.
I go by there all the time, always full.
But you know what else you want to look at is in the immediate area. Look at all the housing that's getting built there.
Exactly.
Right? New young professionals, which will end up being young families.
Yep.
They'll have a new school they can send their kids to. They're getting involved in the community. New businesses are popping up.
They just built the school right around the corner from me, Baldwin School. They just replaced that school. That school at one time, I don't know if it is anymore, but at one time was the largest population of young kids in the state.
Yeah. Worked on the financing for that one as well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and so Pawtucket has an awful lot of promise. You look at a lot of the activity, just the tax receipts in that general area, they are up remarkably from where they were during COVID, right? And it's a lot of this is new construction, it's new building, there's a lot coming online in Pawtucket to be excited about right now.
Yeah, just over in Gulf Avenue and all that area, they're building all those new high-rises, and that don't even include the old mills they're repurposing.
And what's smart about that, because we see this, every community is different in Rhode Island. Some communities, they don't have room or tolerance for additional housing. Other communities like Pawtucket are embracing that, and they say, look, we're going to have a new school that can accommodate them. We've got plenty of water to make sure that we can support them with utilities. We've got public transit that they can walk to. This helps us come back as a city, sort of a new generation passing through there, and that's a right place for it. If we think as a state about how we make sure those areas that want to embrace this, embrace it and are supported for it, we can do very well without disrupting community character.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you can do it in your office as Lieutenant Governor.
We can have a small part in helping to build the team that gets it done, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be good work and worthwhile use of my time and of the voters' trust to get that job
Well,
done.
the thing you struck me as I'm saying, who do I want as my Lieutenant Governor? And I'm saying, this guy I like, from what I see. You're one of my top picks for that office, let's put it that way.
Thank you.
If not the top pick, one of the top two anyway.
Well, I really appreciate that. You know, voters can start voting early on the 20th. I know by the time this airs, people will already be in early voting.
Right.
I know a lot of people don't think about this office when they go into the voting booth. They think about who their governor's going to be. They think about who their mayor's going to be.
Folks, this is a very important office, very important office. If you listen to me over the last 34 years, you know that I have been dealing in politics for the last 60 years. And second to the governor, in fact, it's already happened. It happened with this governor that's in office right now. He became governor because of Gina leaving, and whether it be sickness or whatever, for whatever reason, the lieutenant governor could be governor, and you want the right person there as lieutenant governor. That's the whole point.
Certainly.
Of the position. Well, one of the main points, and you can, like you said, it becomes a bully pulpit for you to use the office. Some people in the past have just, coasted through it, and other guys, Dan McKee, worked that office very well. And it sounds like you have a good plan, too.
Look, if you take one thing away, right, is that I am a kid who wakes up every day and works as hard as they can at whatever the task is. I've never taken my opportunity for granted because my family came here with literally nothing. And so I owe this state everything. And so when I take on public service, whether it was my service as mayor in Newport, if you roll back the tape a little bit, I was the chairman of Providence Water for 10 years. You check your bills right now. I guarantee you, if you're a Providence Water customer, that's one of the lowest utility bills that you have.
Right.
It's because we worked our tail off every single day to modernize that utility in a way that also helped make sure we were taking care of the folks who actually pay the bill. And so when we take on something like renewable energy, solar, for example, we didn't just do it because it was good for the environment. I care about the environment and our future very deeply. We also did it because it saved our ratepayers nearly $1 million a year in the bottom line operating expense of the electricity for that utility.
Well, you just spent an hour with Bob. I hate to cut you short, but I'm being told we're out of time, right? We did it. Can you believe you just spent an hour?
I'd come back for another hour, Bob. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's great. Xay, great to meet you again, or see you again, I should say. Xay, now wait, now I'm going to have to look it up again. Say it, it makes it easier if you say it.
Xay Khamsyvoravong, but sigh of relief, it's not the full name. Just like
Xay,
Xay's your guy.
I love it.
Xay's your guy.
Xay's your guy. You got them all. You got them all. Well, thanks for stopping by and spending an hour with Bob.
Thank you for having me on, Bob.
Thank you. And folks, thank you. Until next time, see you.